It's just going to be a pretty basic dev meeting. We're going to go over what's happened in the last week since our last meeting, anything that we got to talk about now, any changes we have to make to upcoming content, so on and so forth, the usual. So Samo, as the director of the current main quest going on, first of all, how are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about the players' reaction to this Act 1 you're building up?
I feel that they are hyped. I am concerned with certain gameplay attitudes in the server regarding how that's approached. And if, according to my math, it's like at the rate they're going through it, it won't be done until we start our Christmas break. So I'm wondering if there are hot fixes that need to be done. But from a
Yeah.
narrative standpoint, I have big thumbs up.
Yeah, narratively we're doing fine, but the mapping is taking a lot longer than expected. And that's just how it goes, right? You know, you math it out. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
this many downtime days, this many titans. On average, they should be earning this much per day. You know, when you break down all the math, blah blah blah. The number was a little bit too high. So you and Drac were originally talking about something about doing a session version of mapping data to sort of help compensate.
Yeah, so it's a twofold issue. One is the idea that only our most well established Titan players seem to be the only ones doing it in batches, and the smaller players are being dissuaded from using the apparatuses that would allow them to contend, albeit get an NPC to help you out because of the Vanguard Strength. And a few days ago in our chat, I did a bunch of old man saber rattling about that. My goals here are to encourage the underleveled, undergeared, just low baby Titans to have an opportunity to engage in the story content. I guess that's really only my one goal, and we're thinking of approaching it in two ways. One is the thing that we discussed the other day about the NPCs having a bet amount that it's reduced to, and B, Drac and I were talking about doing these games in sessions. It would be, if you want to do this, you have to all Titans. And certain in the text, we were thinking of encouraging. It's like levels, I don't know, 4 to 8 are encouraged to join instead of, our big hulking level 16s.
Yeah, yeah. And considering how far behind we are on some of this stuff, it might be best for us to employ both of these methods. So the Vanguard Strength, even though they are essentially tracking it, seeing them being afraid of spending it despite knowing how much Vanguard Strength they have, it's the gamer brain. There's not much you can do about it. You know, you give them a healing potion, they're not going to use it because what if I need it later? That's gamer brain. You can't do anything about that. But having NPCs that they can add to their expedition that will set their modifiers, so you don't use the fire team average, you only use the NPCs numbers. If you're above the NPC, you don't want to use the NPC because it's going to set your numbers lower. And if you're below the NPC, you want to use the NPC because they're gonna, they'll bring your numbers up. We can set up we already have the infrastructure for that. We basically just use the same thing we did with Fireteam Avalon. We just have to change a couple sentences in the rules. Is this still going to cost Vanguard Strength to do it?
I want like from an I want to say yes, but at the same time, it's like I feel if I do, we're gonna have the exact same problem. So I guess off the cuff, are saying no. I do have an idea for that. That would like an experiment I want to run when House of Wolves gets off the ground in earnest. But I don't know if this is the spoiler podcast yet today.
Not, maybe not that part yet. But
Ah,
in general, though, the just the conversation about Vanguard Strength, what we've been using it for, and how players have been reacting to it, it does make me wonder if it's a system we should depreciate because the maintenance it takes to, track that number and all the ups and downs and all that stuff with it isn't actually seeing any return, because we're seeing players refuse to engage with it when given the opportunity to engage with it. Because, gamer brain, you give them a health potion, they're not going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly do that. If we depreciate the mechanic, that is going to create more than a fair bit of kind of backlog retrofit that we'll need to do. A lot of our mechanics do interact with Vanguard Strength, some of our newest expressions and stuff, as an example. So that is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but that's all one-time work. It's work you do once and then you don't do it again. Whereas maintaining Vanguard Strength, maintaining the documentation on it, is work you do every day.
That's true. That is very true. I'm mainly playing devil's advocate here. But
yeah, go for it. Play devil's advocate.
But an additional point while I'm putting on my devil horns and grabbing my pitchfork and my arrow spade tail, an additional query is what do we feel about the traction that we do get from players who are invested in maintaining Vanguard Strength, that like that ability to have say and sway in that number. Samo and I were kind of talking about this previously, that is kind of guardian power fantasy to a certain extent, is the ability to be able to look at activities that you're doing and directly see how it contributes to the integrity of the defenses of the last city, right? I mean, so we would be losing that aspect to a certain degree. Are we concerned about that? Is that a problem?
It is and it isn't. I mean, you're absolutely right in that there is the power fantasy in there, and it's very tied into just being a guardian and supporting the city and supporting the Vanguard and bringing humanity back from the brink of destruction. That's kind of where the number originated from, particularly in the early days of the campaign when that number was like 45%. Right? It was very low, and they had to fight tooth and nail to increase it. But right now, the situation that we find ourselves in is a bit of a narrative deadlock, where we are trying to put situations in front of the players where they are given the opportunity to spend the resources they have accumulated to spend that Vanguard Strength, but they are choosing not to, so the number just keeps going up and up and up. And this is going to cause long-term narrative problems for us, because if you look at the future of the campaign, like let's just say big guy attacks the city. I don't know, maybe there's one or two out there in the universe, who knows. Big guy attacks the city, and Vanguard Strength is sitting at, I don't know, let's say it's, I'm going to say this is a reasonable number for today. Who knows what number it'd be at a year from now, but let's say it's sitting at 300%. How do we justify the city, it even being possible for the city to fall when we're sitting at 300% strength?
Sure. Yeah. That's a fair consideration.
Taking this a step further, imagine an enemy that actually can wipe the floor, like destroy the city when it's at 300% strength. How can we reasonably come up with a way to combat something like that if they're knocked all the way down to zero?
Right, because you're talking about not just one Guardian when you're looking at the Vanguard Strength. You're talking about the thousands of Guardians and the Vanguard at 300% operating efficiency. How, when you look at what one Guardian can do in a session, how do you justify one bad guy defeating thousands of them at 300% efficiency? And it's either we have bigger drains on Vanguard Strength. New Reese could easily be set up as just a continual month-to-month drain on Vanguard Strength. It just represents us investing a lot of resources. You know, when you're budgeting and you look at how much money you got incoming and how much money it costs for you to stay alive, and you realize, oh, we have a ton of extra money, we can go put it into our friends' little side project so they can keep doing their side project, right? Yeah, New Reese definitely our friend's little side project. Anyways,
Friend's little side project. Yeah, it's just a small thing.
Just a small
no
thing.
big consequences.
It's Frigoris is just doing this on the side. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's a yeah.
But we could make New Reese a constant drain on Vanguard Strength, but then we're in a situation where if the player base for whatever reason decides to stop investing in Vanguard Strength, they stop doing patrols, they stop supporting operatives and stuff like that. We are setting them up for failure, which is not necessarily bad, because that is a direct narrative consequence based on the choices you made, and if you choose not to invest in Vanguard Strength, you are accepting the consequences of not investing in Vanguard Strength. That's fine.
Yeah.
The problem... go ahead.
No. Pop off. You're on a roll.
Yeah.
Go.
The problem becomes how much downtime it's going to end up taking to continue doing all this stuff to support the Vanguard. And there's so much else to spend downtime on that players being gamer goblins would prefer to do, like the crafting and things like that. We don't...
I have a thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, if you're still on your roll, keep going. I can wait.
No, I was just gonna say, like, we don't have a significant player base. We do have a few players, but within our player base, we do not have a significant portion of players who are perfectly fine or who are gunning for Agent of the Vanguard rank 6, rank 7, and all that other stuff. They would rather try to get rank 7 in Armorsmith or Weaponsmith, because then they get to make their own exotic item. And that's really hard to contend with.
Yeah, I mean, light level, what is it for Vanguard? Light level +1? It's which is pretty good.
PB, I think it's one of the two.
I think it's light level. Proficiency bonus is Cryptarchy, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you're, literally expert par excellence.
So here's my question on the hot off the... At this point in our narrative, are there any activities that large organized players, I'm not talking about, churros or whomever, just the people that are researching Weapons of Sorrow, are there any organized efforts that don't narratively innately offer up a benefit to the Vanguard? And and it's an example. You guys are Drac, I don't remember if you were a dev at the time, but do you remember when Drag and I did their story mission where a player found...
They found the prototype thorn.
Prototype thorn, and then that was the one where they got into a fight with Leon, one of them, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, not
doing all of that, but wasn't all of that wrapped up in a fight enemies of humanity, and by extension, to a degree, there was some assistance rendered to the Vanguard, even if it was just kill this organization of Hive, or I forget what it was. Stuff like the journey to the peace zone that can make it that offered absolutely no benefit to the Vanguard, but it also offered no detriment. I am almost wondering if at this point in our narrative we can reasonably hand wave building strength to the Vanguard because of all the efforts that have gone into it right now. House of Wolves and New Reese are going to be narratives about not saving the city or the Vanguard, but literally going into foreign nations and kingdoms and rendering assistance there. And I'm almost to a point where, should we turn Vanguard Strength a little bit upside down to the point where it's less about do we actually have enough strength to defend the city, or is it at a point where yes, we absolutely do have enough strength. Now let's do a track. Now here's a tracker for this is how much the Guardians spent doing X, Y, and Z this month. I mean, this is not an idea that's going to work
Okay.
right out the gate. I am
No.
rambling here.
Don't worry about it.
You know,
But
some baking, but it's like
you're
the Vanguard. Yeah.
Yeah, your idea hits good notes here for sure. Because it's kind of similar to the concept of tiers of play, right? Where you have the notion that like it's similar to character levels, right? Where at certain levels you just don't really have to worry about certain, like activities or things, right? Because your character is, I'm not level 4 anymore, right? Why am I worried about, food and water when we have a druid that can now cast Goodberry enough times a day that like any sort of living circumstance not really an issue. And I think having that occur for the city itself is kind of interesting. So literally the idea that metrics get moved, right? And it could be something a little bit more like, we could break it up into a couple of different metrics, right? It could be like like city morale, or stuff like that, right? Like tower resources, whatever, more advanced metrics to show that the tower is in a state of prosperity, right? I think there's some legs there. Yeah.
My off-the-cuff idea is almost like we'd start with we would start at the beginning of the month. Then we have a number; it's 0, and then our guardians go and they do things, and that's just like it's a cost. This is how much, and at the end of it, like we leverage. This is how much the guardians spent to do all their jobs this month. This is what the leftover budget is for the next month. If we really wanted to get into the minutia and continue to track that sort of thing. I would argue not to have it like from 0 to 100, because a 100% drain on Vanguard resources seems like it would be a very easy number to hit.
Yeah. Additionally, if you put it in those terms and those perspectives, we're kind of reinventing the Vanguard Strength problem, which is where it's the higher that numbers goes, it's a bigger hit to the city, which our players we know our players don't want to do, right? Because that's kind of one of the problems with Vanguard Strength is it's the city's health bar. So that's part of the reason why they don't see it as a resource to spend, because unlike how player hit points work, right, where it's really just the last one that truly matters, when the Vanguard's at 15% or less Vanguard Strength, any failed mission could spell the doom of the entire city. So they're encouraged to keep it as high as they possibly can. It's basically like overshield or temporary hit points. What we could do is a little bit of a binary system here. I like your idea of I kind of want to twist it on it a bit, but I like this idea of a number that goes up, because number go up is Goopy Gamer Goblin Brain, right? Like that's player like number go up, right? That's how our downtime system works. That's how all tabletop RPG systems work, right? Higher number better, and we could literally put it in goals of, hey, we break it up into categories, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, whatever. And we have some sort of metric. Maybe it's invisible, but the idea is that they score points or as they do activities, maybe kind of like language fragments, right? It's about filling up like a progress bar. And then once the progress bar tips over, that can be player facing, that could be not. But the idea is that once it moves from tier 1 to tier 2, maybe that general metric is visible, and it's these small sprints for the player base, right? Every month there's this sprint that occurs, and the goal is to try to get to tier 4. This is kind of like Vanguard Strength, but it's more in this process of how much the Guardians have done, right? Them accomplishing their goals. This is given, war score, so to speak, to the Vanguard. It's helping move the kind of Helldivers fronts away from the city, right? VIPs are killed, territory is claimed, patrol beacons are fortified, so on and so forth. And what the player base knows is that depending on the tier of your reward, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, how well the Guardians did at accomplishing the Vanguard's goals, that is how much gets paid out, whether it's a glimmer amount, whether it's more exotic blueprints, right? Because the Guardians are doing their job, that frees up the Vanguard bureaucracy and the war machine to invigorate its mainline troops. And then we have another metric that is more of the drain, that what you're talking about, right? Which is how much the Guardians tap Vanguard resources to accomplish their goals, right? This might be covering for failed patrols, right? This might be getting a bolster to their supplies, right? The idea we could literally incorporate mechanics where in the middle of a patrol, you could have a hawk come and drop off resources for you. It counts as a short rest or maybe a long rest, right? But when you do that, it's Vanguard resources, right? That's a hawk that had to risk coming out to you to drop you supplies, whatever, right? I'm spitballing here. But the idea is that it becomes a meaningful thing that players can tap for mechanical benefit. And whenever that happens, that moves down a drain. And what that could do is play into some other mechanics, as opposed to it hitting the economy. Maybe it could be, but it could be on the back end, on the player end. It's like, hey, the more you drain this, the more, we literally roll on a chart in the background, and depending on, basically, if that's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 of economy drain, that's how many levers of the shit slot machine we pull to see what problems fall out, right? And it could be House Winter has a breakthrough in the Ishtar Sink. They've taken over some territory, and now there's some particular VIPs that are. What's great about this is that's a fail-forward mechanic. My idea is that whatever that negative drain mechanic is, it's fail-forward. Has some severe consequences, right? Where, hey, we've lost footing in the Cosmodrome and the Ishtar Sink because of the resource drain. Right? And so what that means is Hive have infested certain parts of the Cosmodrome, and House Winter has taken over parts of the Ishtar Sink, and then that gives fronts for the players to push back on, right? It could also be things where, hey, the patrol beacon network is on the blink in this area, which means whenever you try to use it, there's a chance that it doesn't actually give you what you want, and enemies come and ambush you. Blah 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 blah. But the idea is that it builds narrative for us, right? So no matter what happens, the players succeed. There's content for them to engage with, and if the players fail, there's content for them to engage with, which also incentivizes them to use both mechanics, especially if they know, well, okay, this might mean that our enemies get some headway, but we're so close to tier 4. And that means it's more likely we're going to get, get X reward. We encourage the players to hit themselves with the stick to get the carrot, which they will do. They will do.
I'm not sure. Maybe I missed something here, but I'm not sure how this is doing anything other than recreating the same problem, because you're still giving them health potions that they're never going to use, because what if they need it later?
I think it's
because even if we said, all right, let's, you've been over X% for so long, we're gonna go into the next tier where the Vanguard Strength is at. We're just going to assume that you get these benefits. Let's say it's the Vanguard is always able to maintain the patrol beacon networks. Now you don't have to worry about the patrol beacon network strength. That's always going to be great in any Vanguard controlled area. It is always going to be great. So we don't have to track that going up and down. Now we reset the bar. Let's say the bar goes back to 0%, but it's 0% of tier 2, and earning strength. What you're conveying to the players then is that if they fill up the bar of tier 2, now they get to tier 3. They're never going to spend tier 2 because they want to get to tier 3.
So I've definitely miscommunicated the idea of this mechanic then. in my mind, if we've got you got the bars and the tiers down, right? We treat it like a loading bar that's separated into 4 blocks. First of all, my idea is that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, right? You've got that, they progress it. It doesn't reset. This isn't like my brain immediately jumps to Pokemon Pocket. This isn't like the League where it resets you to like your next lowest tier, but you don't ever drop below that, right? It's more of, in my mind, this would be our abstraction for the Vanguard going, look, these are our goals. These are our war goals. By going out and accomplishing them, you are freeing up resources. And maybe our player base knows at tier 1, they get like a couple of artifact blueprints. Then at tier 2, the foundries are freed up enough that, weapon blueprints hit the charts, right? Tier 3, some armor blueprints. Tier 4, there's an exquisite blueprint capable of doing it. And these rewards can be anything, right? I'm literally just pulling them out of my butt. So it's a sprint. The idea is that it's a sprint. It's not a marathon, it's a sprint. Every month, it's a sprint. So the Guardians progress to tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. They get what they get, and then at the end,
it's the power grind. It's the
Kitty. Oh, stop it! Don't no.
I mean, it's apropos for Destiny.
Yeah, yes, I suppose. Except imagine if now I'm taking shots. But imagine if when your power grind reset though, there was community-wide metrics and rewards and benefit, which you can't do in a looter shooter game because it's a personal power grind, not a community one.
Yeah, but I mean, so now I have to pick a bone with you because it is exactly like Pokemon Pocket, where it does reset you, but you get rewards based on the tier that you were at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Okay.
And then that incentivizes our community to use those rewards because it's not, oh, well, we don't need to do this because we're going to rest back at tier 2. It's, if we want these rewards, we need to get them done. These are short-term goals that we're attempting to accomplish for the Vanguard so they can free up and do this shit. Because one of the other issues with Vanguard Strength is it has produced somewhat in the community the narrative that the new light community of Guardians are the only Guardians doing shit for the Vanguard because nothing else moves the Vanguard strength number up and down except for their activities, and then the Vanguard spends the excess. This would be more of, generally speaking, these are the rewards that are made available to this subset of Guardians, and by them doing these goals, this group is getting those rewards, right? So it's focusing more on this compartmentalization, or this compartment of the Guardian player base, which is, or the Guardians in the tower, which is our player base, right? So that, and then it's also showing that the tower is doing other shit as well, right? Because they are, right? We know in our fantasy of this universe, the Vanguard is spread very thin. They are attempting to hold fronts on 4 different worlds, and open up relations with the Reef and New Reese, and there's a lot of shit going. But our metric doesn't match that, because the only people that make the number go up and down, really the only people that make the number go up, is our player base, and then the Vanguard spends that to bolster the Vanguard, which obviously when we do that, blueprints get finished, patrol beacon network, the player base gets shit. But this would be a more tactile, feasible bounty board method to directly put the jingle in front of our players. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we're looking at a new system of Vanguard Strength where I do think I want to give players the general reward of, it doesn't matter if you spend this Vanguard Strength, because you've accumulated so much over so long that we just assume you're at the highest tier of the original Vanguard Strength bar. It doesn't matter if this bar is at 0. You're not gonna fall back on the old bar.
Yes,
we have enough players. We have enough going on. We don't need to track the minutia of that anymore. So this then becomes a, it's a monthly. I almost, depending on the numbers behind it, I almost want to make it once every other month or once every 3 months, but that's something we can figure out in the minutia later. But we're going to go for monthly for now, which is every month you try to fill up this bar by doing stuff for the Vanguard, and based on whatever tier it's at, whatever point it's at the end of the month, the whole community receives a reward for it, and then it goes back down to 0. Okay.
Exactly.
Like the accomplishment, it could be like the monthly accomplishments or something.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have the infrastructure for bounty quests. I was originally going to wait to roll that out until we got to that portion of the House of Wolves storyline, because obviously, there's that whole section in the middle where it is doing a shit ton of bounty quests.
Right.
We could possibly roll it out earlier. We could also save this for like a January update.
We could.
And not worry about it, because it's not a huge detriment right now. It's obviously a system that is a little meh, but it exists.
It's one of our older systems.
It is one of the old systems. This one comes from, like, I want to say 5 years ago, a West Marches we ran back then.
Got you.
Yeah.
Heard.
It's one of our oldest systems. So it's definitely in need of an update, but it's not actively harming anyone for it existing.
No.
So we can definitely keep this idea in mind, and if I can fit it into a November update, I would love to, because the sooner it gets done, the better.
Sure.
But possibly
that also gives our
January,
player base times to read over and adjust it. And if we can do that in a November update where they know that it's coming, then they have the winter break to like look over it, and then bam, we're starting fresh January with this new system. That would be that. I mean, that's gas, right? Like that's
yeah.
And prevents giving whiplash to our player base where they go, wait, how do all my downtimes now? you know what I mean?
Yeah, because this is going to have to come with a lot of changes to downtime, and in particular,
sure.
if we still want to keep, so if we want to keep this where it's Vanguard Strength, do these things to increase the Vanguard Strength, and we want to take it off of downtime kind of a situation, or downtime has less results or less impact on Vanguard Strength. I want to look at the rank 7 rewards for Agent of the Vanguard in particular. Okay. And also, I mean, it's hard to compare to make a custom exotic.
True.
I would almost want... Here's a wild idea, okay?
Oh, I love these.
I'm listening.
Okay, so the crafting expressions, which is Cryptarchy, Techie, Weaponsmith, Armorsmith, when you reach rank 7, you get to make a custom exotic of that category. So it's an artifact for a Cryptarch, it's blah 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 blah, whatever. For Crucible Contender and Agent of the Vanguard, when you hit rank 7 in those, you get a custom feature.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
would that be in lieu of a light level increase or in addition to a light level increase?
It would be in lieu of one. Well, I mean, so here's the deal. The light level increase is good, but it's not make your own exotic kind of good.
Yeah, it doesn't have that flavor, that's for sure. But I mean, again, we're going like, look, you're telling me custom feature where characters get to do more cool shit. I hear you. I'm with you. We are dealing with Goopy Gamer Goblin Brain, and there are people who've been pushing for rank 7 for the premise of having a higher light level than other achieve.
I mean, we can do artifacts and stuff like that can give higher light levels. We can have exotics even. The fact that we haven't rolled out stuff like Saint 14's Ring is because the rank 7s exist, and we don't want them stacking. So if we took it off rank 7, we could put it somewhere else.
Sure. Okay.
I know, and then what if
there might be a bit of friction in the community over that for the people that have been pushing that for that light level increase, and now it's being thrown to exotic. But if the feature thing is dope, I think they'll be all right. Which I mean, what
we could always do is we could just make it you choose one or the other.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Or we can just make it choose, so that the ones who are already going for it, the prize is still there for them, and then the people who wanted it but didn't care about the light level increase now have a prize that they can look forward to.
Right, absolutely. I actually ultra like that solution.
Okay.
Because obviously our intention isn't to, and I think anyone giving a fair read of the situation is going, oh, this is them trying to improve and make the system more interesting. But I don't want it to come across as, oh, they moved the goalposts, and especially if it's going to be like, oh, they recognize that light level increase with destroy creature on supers. On 2E supers is too strong, so that needs to be changed. So now things are getting nerfed because of 2E. That is the most uncharitable take that somebody could read, but I want to shield ourselves against that as much.
Yeah, I mean, you do this job long enough and you get a lot of uncharitable takes in your inbox,
sure.
And you get to a point where you're just like, I just want to make pretty thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to make this exciting and interesting, and an ability is
interesting, and I'm human, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not perfect.
Yep.
I'm human. I'm
Exactly.
baby. Don't shoot me. I'm baby. But okay.
Maybe if that doesn't work in our Pinnacle content, I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work here.
It does work in our Pinnacle content. They shoot you all the time.
That's because you go invisible.
Yeah,
and then leave my Titan ass hanging in the wind. Anyway.
Just have a high health build. My god. I'm used to playing with warlocks, can you tell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright,
God.
let me get this written down. I gotta get a couple changes written down. So what would it be? It would be Cryptarch is custom exotic artifact.
Go for it.
Techie. We might have to. So Techie is actually kind of on the table for a third rework. It really depends on. Yeah, I know. Because it really depends on jump ships and jump ship combat and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
But we can put custom device for Techie. We already have the weaponsmith and armorsmith. They're already the set. They're good. And then it's Crucible Contender and Agent of the Vanguard. What the hell is Crucible Contender? That's the one that's the light. That's the proficiency bonus, right?
That's Crucible Contender also gives light level bonus.
Okay.
Cryptarchy is what gives you proficiency bonus.
Yeah. So Agent,
as does Techie, actually.
So here's an even wilder idea. So you know how Crucible Contender gives you the 2 feats?
Yeah.
What if Crucible Contender, its capstone, was a custom feat that you get to make, and it's just for you. You don't get to share it with anyone else. It's not like Iron Lord.
It's not like Iron Wolf. Yeah.
But Agent of the Vanguard is custom power.
Ooh, that took me a second. That's dope. No, I like that. That's dope as hell. That's dope as hell.
Crucible, because that fits then, because Crucible, it already has the feats, so getting a custom feat for your top rank fits in the theming for that, and then Agent is a custom light ability. Which could be a super, melee, grenade, whatever. You're going to have to follow the design restrictions of whatever they pick. If you pick a melee, you're not going to be doing the damage of a super. It's a melee. It's going to scale like melees do. It's going to have a base damage the way melees do, but you get to pick special side effects. And then, of course, it's a melee. You get to cast it more because it's a melee.
Yeah, exactly.
There's arguments for doing a super where you want a custom super that you are the only person who knows how to cast the super. You want to do Shaw Hans, empower everyone else with your super.
Stop trying to make Shahan cool. He's not
Shut
cool.
up. He's super cool.
He's so not cool.
He's so cool.
So lame.
He's so cool.
Lame.
Shut up. You have no taste in men. No taste.
Says you.
Says
you,
me.
Cat.
I have fantastic taste in men. Look at me. Look at my harem. I've got Oryx. I've got Buzzwool. I've got Shahan.
And Finley.
I have fantastic taste in men.
I made that one. I'm telling you, that's a red flag.
No, he's a great guy. He's just a little rough around the edge, but he tries his best. What more can you ask for?
That's what makes it so pathetic. Is he tries his best.
He gets fucking
that's his
nothing.
Best.
Anyways.
This is my good person impression. Can't you tell?
Oh my god.
Uh, you bought a
Uh,
child sniper
or-
rifle. Yeah, I'm trying to be a good guy. That's what we do, right? No. No, it's not. It's not, Finley.
So that's, and then for Vanguard Strength, switching it over either in November or in January, switching it to a benchmark system. That sort of helps with our problem long term.
Mm-hmm.
But in the short term, when we're looking at October and what's going to be available for October, we would love to see the player base finish this mapping by like mid-October at the latest, to be honest.
Yeah. And we're only a quarter of the way through.
Yeah. So I think number one, offering sessions where you can earn a ton of. And here's the thing, Drac. Remember what we were talking about with using the deck of possibilities to map out areas?
Yes. Ooh, I didn't even make
Right.
that connection.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So imagine this, right? It's so Samo. I want you to imagine this. You're on Roll20. Okay.
I'm imagining it.
You have your battle map area, right, where the battle maps go there. But then you have an area next to it or below it or what the fuck ever, doesn't matter. You have an area that is your region map. And the region map is you're going to put down specific points of interest in that region, and those specific points of interest always stay there. So if you're in the Cosmodrome, Skywatch is going to be in this particular point in the grid because that's that's where it's located. It's right there. And every time you go to the Cosmodrome, Skywatch is always going to be in that spot. But you're going to also start at Firebase Northstorm, which is going to be in this spot down here. And you say, oh, I want to get to Skywatch, you draw cards from the deck and you build a line between Firebase Northstorm and Skywatch. And however many cards you have to draw is based on however far away it is on the region grid, where every square is one card. And then that's all the stuff that happens to you on your way to Skywatch. And there could be, like, your field commander says, hey, go to these coordinates and do a thing there. And then you represent that by picking a spot on the region and putting a point of interest in that spot. And the players can immediately see how far away they have to go because they can count how many cards they're going to have to draw and resolve to get to that spot.
I see. Okay.
So now for mapping the tunnels in the Ishtar Sink, same system, but we treat it a little bit more roguelike, where instead of having set spaces, because you're going in and you're mapping different tunnels in different spots, but what you have to do is you have to reach 3 locations that are randomly generated, or the GM just picks, or whatever. We can do dice rolls, whatever. There's 3 randomly generated spots, and the fire team has to travel to all 3 spots to complete their mapping for that session. And they just draw and resolve cards in between the spots.
Okay. Might have to see it in action, but I think I'm getting it. Jack was pitching something similar earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar to like how we normally handle the deck of possibilities. It's just that we don't have the region map to lay the cards down on. We just have the time of day. Time of day, we would have to track a little bit differently, but I think we can make this work. Drac, do you have any thoughts to add on to this?
No, I think you. I think you described it. I think you described it well. I think that'd be a great way of making these more interesting. Because what I was originally pitching, and I'm kind of upset I didn't think of the system that you and I had been brainstorming on before, was literally just reflavoring the GP content of survey the land using because that would be that also. It's old mechanics that works very well in a near 1-to-1, basically just a flavor reskin and some minor mechanical differences to represent change in terrain. Would also work for that, but if we want to do some actual like exploration stuff, I mean, You don't gotta twist my arm too hard.
Oh, and Drac, what if we did this? Drac, what if we did this? Okay, okay, huddle in close, everyone
Okay,
huddle.
I'm here.
It's a dangerous area.
Okay, well.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, part of the narrative in our downtime thing is you were well provisioned, or you ran out of supplies.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous area, and I want you to also imagine this. All right, we're still huddled in, okay? I want you to imagine this. Okay, the decks. So you're gonna have like 20 The Journey Continues cards in those decks, right? Because you're gonna have to draw and resolve like 7 cards to get to each of the individual survey points, and it's still every 3 cards advances time a day by 1.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. One thing to remember too with Journey Continues is that does provide them the opportunity to one person in the fire team to get supplies. But again, hey, remember, we're dealing with Titans here.
We are dealing with Titans.
You know,
well, I think the sessions, what I'd want to do is I'd want to say you only need 2 Titans on the fire team to do a session. Just so scheduling and stuff like that makes it a lot easier.
Okay. I would toss that towards Samo's way, because I know he's got clear character identity in Titans, but I'm ambivalent.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, it's. I guess it's just narratively, if it becomes a, not all Titans are needed, then why? Then do we need to also open up the downtime? Which I guess I'm fine with if that's the case, but just ultimately we gave a fun thing to hunters in Dark Below, and I just was like, all right, eventually we'll do a warlock thing.
So
well, what do you think?
Let's at its base, I think the concept came from a very good spot, which is we had a really fun thing that only hunters could do in the Dark Below, and now we have a fun thing that only Titans can do here. The issue we're running into is the Dark Below, the hunter thing, it was a one-time thing, it didn't affect Vanguard Strength, and you didn't have a chance of dying. Whereas the Titan thing, and you only needed 1 hunter. Whereas the Titan thing, you need 4 Titans to get together, to spend their downtime, to get a random amount of map data to possibly die doing it. Which is all of those effects compound together to make the process very slow. Because people are doing it, they are just, doing it very slowly, and they are trying to stack the odds in their favor because they don't want to die. Especially not in a downtime activity. So we could just, so to speak, because I don't know how else to phrase this, swallow our pride on this one, say, well, that didn't work out the way that we thought it did. Here's the new version of it. And we can just tell people, here's what we're going to do from this point forward. And it doesn't have to, we could make it similar to how we handled the hunters, where you don't need a Titan on the team, but you need a Titan providing support, and one Titan, a Titan can only do it once in their career. And then the downtime we could open up to be more than Titans.
Yeah, I did put in our chat right here in this a proposed 4 points for the map the tunnels hot fix.
So eliminate Vanguard Strength requirement for NPCs. We could do that. Add set bonuses to NPCs that invalidates the average. Yes. Double the amount of mapping data rewarded. IRL sessions to acquire mapping data. Yes.
I think if we did the 4th one, we wouldn't have to do the 3rd.
I mean, it's everything we've already discussed, but
yeah. But it's a concise list, which is good, so we don't run over old territory. I think if we do 4, we don't. Yeah. Go.
I was gonna say, why don't we do this list minus the 3rd one? Because again, if we do the in-session one, first of all, it's going to be a new thing for players to play. They're going to love it. Second of all, the NPC one, if we make the numbers such that, because we know the reason they're not doing the activities, because they do want to stack their odds so that they don't die doing the activity, we can change the activity so that it's, if you if you roll the worst result, it's either take a hit to your equipment or take a dragon's deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, could do that. And if we didn't want it to be equipment, it could, if we want the Vanguard Strength hit in there, it could literally be you take a hit to Vanguard Strength because, the Vanguard had to come dig you out or like send you resources or whatever, like you had to be rescued, or you did it on your own, but you have to make RTL saves and we see if you made it out.
What if we just got rid of the "you could die in this downtime" activity?
I mean, we could do that too. I do like
Yeah.
the idea of take a hit to Vanguard Strength or take an RTL.
Yeah.
It's a devil's
Yeah.
bargain.
Yeah.
Which I think makes the RTL hit a little bit better because
you can just skip it, yeah.
You can just skip it, and it's a choice that player is making. Which obviously they made a choice when they downtime activity, but I mean we know from our player base.
Results. Yeah.
You didn't have a choice in the dice result, and we know this from our community. Generally speaking, they really, really, really do not like taking DDs in downtime. They really don't like taking DDs at all, but that's just players. I mean, nobody likes dying. They really, really freaking hate it in downtime. I mean, to the point that this is the cheese maze. We've given them the worst outcome, which is, death. So it's no surprise that they optimize away from the outcome that they hate so much. If we make it a devil's bargain, that might be more approachable, and players will go, well, it's just a hit to Vanguard Strength. I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
So
I would even, let's eliminate all potential for death, just because that seems to be the biggest hang up. And nobody wants to die is the thing, but they're not letting the new players, they're telling the new players, don't use your NPCs because you'll ruin the Vanguard Strength sort of thing. It's just,
we don't like that. And that's partly a community thing that we can work on the community with, but it's also partly our problem. We made the mechanics. We made the sandwich,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We presented the system for them to optimize and the way to prevent all consequences from hitting them. We can't really be surprised that they do it, and that they even take it the extra step of policing themselves to make sure that they don't take consequences.
So we can't be too mad at them.
TLDR is, let's get rid of the consequences, because this isn't the narrative. This isn't the climax. This is the busy work they're doing to get to the narrative, and we want them to be done with this in like 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So I think those things put together, that's going to create that's going to alleviate a lot of concerns, and I hope we get a lot more players engaging with the systems then at that point.